Let me show you how you can make an audit plan. To make an audit plan, you need several information. First of all, you need to know the organization, its size, its department, its processes, the department within the organization, which department does which functions, and so on. The type of scope, the scope of the certification, because based on that, you have to identify the auditors so that the collectively the audit team can perform the audit. If there's a sole auditor, one auditor, the lead auditor must be capable of all the processes to audit competently and comprehensively. So before you assign the team and prepare an audit plan, you need to identify the audit team to comprehensively audit the organization. So collectively, they must have all the experience and knowledge needed to certify that organization. So we need to have the manpower so that we can calculate the number of man days required for this department, geographical spread, what time they start the work, what time they end the work, because audit has to be done without disrupting their work. Also, sometime, if some critical activities are happening at night shift, for example, you may have to go there to verify or to audit certain elements during night shift because maybe some critical activities are done at night and that may have a profound impact on the effectiveness of the quality management system. For example, an operation, a significantly critical operation is happening at night that is partly done or not done at all in the day shift. For example, a company does most of the welding work at night and most the fabrication and joining and assembly at daytime. So to look at the competence of the welders and the process to comply with the special process requirement, welding requirement, controls on those processes, you may have to visit the night shift, for example. So you need to really look at those requirements and the information and the language spoken. If a company is predominantly, for example, they're speaking all Arabic and you don't know how to speak Arabic at all, so you might have to have some translator, or you are going to Spain, for example, or Italy, or Russia, or for example, China. You don't speak that language, so you have to have interpreter who can actually interpret and translate these questions. Also, there will be more time required because the translation and communication process becomes lengthier. So you have to consider some amount of additional time for doing such kind of an audit. So these are some of the information you need to have. Conflict of interest of the auditor. So when you assign the auditor, you have to make sure that the auditor does not have any sort of conflict of interest while he or she is performing audit in the organization. For example, he or she has never been working there or might have worked sufficiently long time ago where there is no conflict right now. Generally 2 years or more is considered the risk has come down to an acceptable level. You have to also consider that this person has not been involved while establishing their quality management system as consultant, or his brother is not the chairman of the company and he is going as the lead auditor. So perception or independence in the independence of the auditor will not be perceived to be truly independent. Therefore, you have to, the standard requires the audit process has to be independent and also perceived to be independent. Therefore, you have to consider those aspects of it. The competence of the auditor, team, language, and all those kind of things are to be considered. And the size of the department, the complexity of the process, based on that, you have to assign the timeline. And based on that, you decide how much time will have to be spent in each department. Based on these, you are going to audit. Now, let me show you how in real life these are done. This is the organization chart. General manager, management representative. It's not a mandatory requirement in the standard have a management representative now, but in this case they have. They have got customer relations department, human resource department, purchase and procurement department, QAQC and service department and dispatch. Under service department, they've got facility and maintenance and accounts, and the dispatch department has got security department is with dispatch. So these are the departments within the organization, and we have to include all these in our audit plan. And also have a look at it. These are the requirements of the standard. So look at different requirements of the standard. These called metrics of requirement or applicability metrics. In other words, which requirement of the standard is applied or implemented by which department? Who is the process owner? Where you have to go to audit those elements. So look at this kind of a metrics where these are the requirements of the standard here, and these are the department where they're critically applied and they're applicable. For example, understanding the needs and expectation of the customer, you are going to go to the QAQC department as well as reception department as well as the service department because they are the one who is actually addressing those requirements. So when you are looking at these requirements, you are auditing these department with critical focus. That's how all the requirement in one side and organization wide these are elements applicable. So this is where we are going to audit. So while planning the audit, we need to look at which element is applied where within the organization, who does what, and where you have to go to seek evidence, and whom should you audit. So this is the second important requirement. So we need to have number one, the organizational chart, the department of and the department within the organization, the applicability metrics where the requirements of the standard have been applied in departments. These are informations you need. It's not a mandatory document, but you can possibly ask who does what. If this kind of document is there, this life becomes easier for you. And then you also need to really see based on the number of manpower. This is IFMD5. This is the document. IF is the International Accreditation Forum. MD5 is mandatory document number 5. Latest version is 2019. It says effective number of people. If the effective number of people in one organization is 1 to 5 for stage 1 and stage 2 audit combined together, for stage 1 and stage 2 audit combined together, you have to spend at least 1.5 days. Now, if you remember, we talked about Universal Motor Service Company while reviewing the quality manual. We knew that they have got 15 people, below 15 people. This means we need to spend 3 days time considering stage 1 and stage 2 audit. But for us, we'll have 1 man day stage 1 audit, 2 man days stage 2 audit, right? So this is how we are going to make. So we have got number of people, we have got the organizational chart to find the departments and the organizations and the metrics where who is doing what. Based on that, we'll now have to form audit plan. Now, an audit plan, you are using TCB cert worldwide form because you are auditing on behalf of TCB. So you're preparing a plan using TCB's format. So here is the scope of certification. For example, general service of Ford and Lincoln make light motor vehicles. Objective is to certify the organization or initial certification of an organization, conformity assessment to ISO 9001-2000 requirement for the scope and the criteria is ISO 9001-2015 applicable legal and other requirements, and the auditor's names you are giving. Make sure all the audit team together has the knowledge that is required, the comprehensive knowledge the organization needs. And audit mandates for 2 auditors will be 2. And you start audit days 1, time from to opening meeting, and you are writing when auditor 1 is doing one area, one element of audit, auditor 2 is doing some other element, and some point they come together. So during opening meeting, all are together, and then they are independently auditing in certain areas. Depending on their competence, you are going to assign them different departments, which is going to be here, and the processes. And also at the same time, you are giving the time from to what time they start, what time they end, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever time you feel appropriate. You give 15 minutes approximately opening meeting time, not more than 30 minutes in any case. Lunch and refreshment, 45 minutes to 1 hour, reasonably. Working lunch is fine. You can have a good dinner, but not a longer lunch that affects your audit time, which is basically 8 hours minus 1 hour for the lunchtime. And there has to be some time for the auditor team briefing and the closeout meeting time. Closeout meeting is around half an hour to 45 minutes. There may be some questions, so 30 minutes time is good enough time, which might extend to say 45 minutes. Auditor team briefing, when you are discussing among the auditor, maybe 25, 30 minutes time, not more than 1 hour time. This kind of time can be given to take notes of auditor's observation so that you consolidate. And one more thing is you talk to the management representative of the company or who is managing the audit. You talk to them. Someone is going to be responsible for managing the audit from the organization. Please speak to him or her, take into confidence that these are the observations going to be presented in the closeout meeting. Because in the closeout meeting, there is no debate, no argument, no yes, no. You cannot start debating on a finding in the closeout meeting. So these are all agreed before you are entering the closeout meeting. And then this audit plan has to be approved and communicated. One thing is important, the audit plan has to go to the customer in advance because they must be given the time for them to look at the auditors and their competence. They can have questions if there's any conflict of interest. One auditor might be a part of the audit team, and they have got some issues. It really happened once with us. There was one Krishna Kumar, one name of the person who worked for the company. We were asking, there was a Krishna Kumar working for us in a very senior level, and he left a couple of months ago. Is he the same Krishna Kumar? And we have responded back, no, he is not the same person. As per our procedure, within 2 years, if someone has worked in a company, in a client organization, we do not include them in the audit team to make sure they are free from any sort of conflict of interest. So this is how you have an agreement with the audit team acceptance by the auditee. Generally, what happens? We give the names. Within 7 days, you can come back to us if you have got any question with the audit timing, with the selection of auditors, or if you do not have any comment, we would conclude that audit plan and the time and the auditors all are agreeable to you so that we can now plan for their travel and the journey and other arrangement. You suddenly cannot come back one day before, no, we do not accept this auditor, because by then we have already made the travel arrangement, accommodation, and so on. So this is how the audit has to be planned in advance and communicated with the customer, give them a chance to agree, accept, or put their comments. Once this is done, this is going to be the guideline for you to limit your time and comply with this plan and complete the audit within this agreed timeline. Let's see how final audit plan could look like. Let me show you a model answer how an audit plan really can look like in real time. So we have the scope, general maintenance services for Ford and Lincoln make light motor vehicles as per customer requirement. The objective is to assess conformity to QMS for the purpose of initial certification. The criteria is ISO 9001 2015, applicable legal and other requirements, and also requirements set by the organization. The organization can have their own requirement. Those are also to be complied with. And audit mandates is 2 mandates, 2 auditors we have assigned. So opening meeting 9 to 9:15, 9:15 to 9:30, lead auditor is doing top management, is talking to the general manager, and then 9:30 to 10, lead auditor goes to the MR, and he is also a top management representative, looking at the documented information, context of the organization, risks and opportunities. Remember, the top management, the general manager or the chairman does not have 2 hours, 3 hours time to speak to you. as an auditor. Your time to talk to the top management is very limited. 10-15 minutes time is good enough time. Normally, you don't audit them, you talk to them. Find out what's their vision, what is their policy, what are the objectives they set for the organization, what is the mission they set for the organization. So it's taking the high level ideas from the organization, knowing him, talking to them, so that you can follow through the audit when you do audit at the ground level and different operational level. So some of the time of the top management has to be given for possibly for the MR who does the top management functions. So top management, very top management, few minutes, but you can spend some more time with the MR to see what all functions the top management does, which can include roles and responsibilities, management review, provision of resources. The setting customer focused organization could be the top management, but you can see how the communications are happening with the policies and objectives at the ground level. After this, 9:30 to 10:30, the lead auditor is doing that. From 10:30 12:30, lead auditor is going to go to the car reception department and doing certain element. And that is the time auditor one from 9:15 are doing inspection and other elements like that. You complete the audit plan, and all the departments, account department, servicing department, dispatch department, all the processes, service realization process, identification, traceability, control of documented information, competence, awareness, training, infrastructure, preservation of the product, customer property, everything has been covered. Auditor 1 and Auditor 2. And possibly by 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 1 hour time, 2 auditors plus lead auditor. So there are 3 auditors, it will be 3 mandates. So 3 auditors are doing audit in, independently in different departments. And finally, these 3 auditors are meeting together for 1 hour, discussing their findings and also preparing the report in this case, and also talking to the representative of the client organization. And then 4 o'clock to 4:30, they are performing the closeout meeting. And that is how the audit plan is prepared. And just for your information, see what all they are going to consider the scope. Automobile engineers, auditor 1 is automobile engineer, lead auditor is automobile expert, IRCA registered lead auditor, 25 years experience in senior management, because he is auditing or she is auditing the top management. So need to have very high level of maturity and dexterity to audit the top management persons. Auditor A1 is having 10 years experience, IRCA auditor, good experience in the field. Auditor 2 is an MBA in finance and accounts, and based on that, they are going to do audit in certain areas. So, and of course, everybody has got experience in automotive or similar sectors. So this has been approved by the certification body's responsible person. So consider 10 effective number of persons. So 2 to 3 audit mandates be good enough. This is how you are going to make an audit plan, and this goes to the customer. I would like you to put your thoughts, use your own judgment, and prepare a good audit plan. Give your time in such a way that you can effectively audit this organization and reasonable degree of depth, and your observation will be quite reliable.